Hello, everyone. So I decided to do this commentary over one of the games I played in one of the weekend tournaments recently. People seem to be pretty interested in my game against Kynesie, and I felt like it'd be pretty informative for sort of lower-ranking players anyway. I feel like a lot of players aren't particularly good at like scouting or like reading their opponent and knowing how exactly they should adapt to it. And I think that my games against Kynesie are kind of informative in that sense. So to jump right into it, one thing I'm doing right off the bat is I decided to send my scout and my explorer to the same side of the map. I think what a lot of players would have done maybe is send one scout over here and then send the other one to this side so they get that full ringer on their base. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm sending them both to the same side because I know that the way this map is laid out, there's like these two big cliffs in the middle. So if you go to one side with your explorer, it's not very easy to get to the other side. So if I send them both to the one side, and say for example, if he were to send his explorer up here, if my scouts like saw his explorer like taking the city wood treasure, for example, I'd be more easily able to contest it with my explorer because they're both on the same side. Whereas if I sent my scout to the other side here, and then he starts to city wood treasure, I'd have no clue that he was even doing that. One thing I also elected to do was when I took this small 50 wood treasure down here, because it's in a safe location and it's really unlikely that his explorer is going to be there, I decided not to use my crack shot, and I just killed both the guardians without it, and that kind of saved my crack shot for this 80 wood treasure later. Just another small thing I ended up doing. What's the matchup? I'm playing French. Kynesie is playing the Portuguese this game. Normally, I'd say that this matchup's pretty close, I think. But I think on this particular map, it can be harder for France, just because Port likes to go for sort of like advanced trading post style play. Which he's not sending this game, but he definitely could have. I noticed it was in his deck when I was playing against him. And so, on this map where there's 4 trading posts, if you went for the advanced trading post build, you could potentially have a much stronger economy than me, even before his 3 town centers get rolling. So that was something I had to keep in mind all game long. I also noticed that he got this Ville treasure. I noticed it in the chat log. And once I saw the Ville, I made it kind of my job to harass the Ville. Just because if he is going for advanced trading post, then this Ville would be really important for him to drop like a trading post here, or maybe even down here. And if possible, I'd like to prevent that. One thing this was also doing was distracting him from this treasure that I was taking right next to him, but also just getting damage on the villager is good by itself. And so once I start aging, first thing I'm trying to do is drop trading posts. You'll see I actually sent CDB down to another trading post. So I'm sending this CDB up here because I know he has the Ville here and his Explorer was up here as well. So this is the least likely trading post for either his Ville or his Explorer to be at, and so I can easily drop that one. And basically, why I'm dropping 2 trading posts instead of the standard 1 for France is just in case he does go for that advanced trading post play. I'm checking that TP just to see if he's building it. If he is going for that play, I want to sort of deny as many of them as I can, and then that way he doesn't have this insane sort of economy that I have to deal with very early in the game. But he does end up not going for that. And I kind of realize he can't really do it at this point when his Explorer is so low. I don't even remember if I kill it here. I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't. Unfortunate. Either way, though, I've got 2 trading posts. Nothing too crazy going on now. Grabbing my Placer Mines upgrade. Just gonna chop another 25 wood for that Steel Traps upgrade. And then get ready to train Hussars. One thing I do decide to do this game is I decide to send 3 Hussars first. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I know that he has a villager. I know that he has a villager up here that's pretty exposed. I think he actually walks it back home now, kind of anticipating that I'm going to have Cav out and he's not going to be able to easily defend it. But yeah, I send 3 Hussars first, just so that I have like the really early pressure. And if he is trying to do anything to like contest these TPs now, then at least I can have I can kind of keep him more inside his base and more concerned about defending his villagers than concerned about harassing my trading posts. I also start working on this big 320 XP treasure because I know, just based on where his Explorer was up here and how low HP it was and how I had to waste all this time taking his Vil treasure, that there's no way he can possibly know about this XP treasure unless he like spyglassed it or something. So getting the stable down, just scouting. And I split my Hussars up. I sent 1 Hussar up to where I think that villager is, which obviously is not there anymore, but I didn't know that at the time. And then I just send the other 2, oops, wrong button. The other 2 Hussar up, do some raids on the other side. I actually mess up my control groups a little bit though. I don't think I even end up checking if there's a Vil here. I just end up moving it straight over when I see this Explorer. Yeah, that was a small micro mistake by me. Not too big a deal though. So as soon as I see the muskets here, I know that I have basically free reign over the map. Anytime someone starts musketeers instead of Cav, and they don't have like a forward base, I know he can't have a forward base just because of where those musketeers showed themselves. So anytime someone starts infantry and they have just their military buildings just in base, you know that you can pretty much do whatever you want on the map, and you're probably not going to get punished for it. So at this point, what I decided to do is I decided to drop a forward Rax, knowing that it's unlikely to be contested with all the raiding pressure I'm putting on and how he has to stay in his base. And I think I end up dropping, yeah, I end up dropping another trading post as well. So I end up grabbing this TP, and then I think go for the stagecoach grade, just hoping that he can't really contest the TPs. This sort of defensive playstyle he's going for. Just fast forward a little bit. So I'm just doing some raids, and this musketeer is cut off. Always good to pick off lone units if you find them. Basically, the goal here is just to not lose any Hussars, and just as long as those Hussars are alive, he can never really leave his base safely. Like, he always has to keep in mind that these Hussars could be anywhere on the map and be pressuring his Vils at any time, so he kind of has to keep those musketeers on top of his base. Unless I end up losing those Hussars, so I'm not going to go for any like sort of risky villager kills or anything like that. I just want to keep them alive and just keep sort of the pressure up that way. So 3rd trading post is down, and 700 gold coming into age. I think I'm gathering just enough gold so I can buy 100 wood to start grabbing that stagecoach upgrade, and then I'm just going to gather to age. You only have 2 Vils on gold, you can see down here. Sadly not getting that villager. I'm also training just a few musketeers, just so I can make sure that I'm going to guard this trading post. I think I do actually end up fighting these muskets, just because it looks like they're alone. But normally you'd never want to fight with your Sar, you just want to keep them alive, like I was saying earlier. Maybe I don't fight them. Here it is. Yeah, I get a few musket kills. He doesn't actually really do any damage to me here, so this is good for me. Also have the muskets here, which is good. And I noticed that he aged, so I'm just going to push in here and try to do as much as I can. I want to trade off these muskets for as much as I can, if possible, just because musketeers are not very good units in the Fortress Age, especially if you're not going to invest into vet muskets, which I really don't want to have to invest in. Actually, didn't end up getting stagecoach like I thought I did. I guess I forgot exactly what I was doing. But yeah, so I force the Minutemen call, kill a few units, and then I just trade off these muskets as best I can. Also forcing, looks like about 8 villagers or so to idle. Maybe that's only 7, I'm not sure exactly. Whatever 72 divided by 9 is. Or divided by 8? Yeah, divided by 8. So 9 vills. No. I can't do math right now, whatever. And I do end up scouting the PC over here as well. And now I know that he has units coming. Like, I know that he has to have, probably his first shipment coming is probably going to be like 5 goons or 8 Cassadors. So I don't want to stick around underneath his base. So instead what I opt to do is just walk down here to this trading post. And on the other side here, I'm going to be training units to sort of pressure this area here. So what this does is it draws his units away from his base towards this trading post. Like, these units are not going to be useful for me at all. But basically this helps me guarantee that he's not going to be able to put any pressure on this trading post. Because those units have to defend his trading post. And at the same time, I can sort of keep an eye on what he's doing over here. Just fast forward a little bit. Right here, so I actually decided, even though this is a good position for him to be fighting me, I decided to just keep shooting those castors anyway. Even though it's not the greatest trade for me, like even garrison vills, or 1 vill to try and get the extra damage on my skirms. But I'm totally okay with like just trading off units. I want him to feel like he has to invest into units, and like he can't really afford to, like, I want him to feel like he has to make military. So if I'm like putting the pressure on like this, even if the trade is like slightly worse for me, I'm hoping that it will make him think twice about like aging up or anything crazy like that, or maybe sending some economic shipment, like 1,000 wood or something like that. I don't want him to send anything like that. I did end up losing my units up here as well. It's 5 dragoons, I think. Didn't catch that. We were watching this though. Oh, and the 2 organs swap out. They get a pretty good volley on my skirms. But he doesn't have a lot of units here, so I just decided to sort of trade my units off for it. It's not the greatest trade for me. But it's not that bad either. Like, the larger the armies are, the more effective those organ guns are going to be. So I just elect to get rid of them as soon as possible. And also just continuing to trade off units will make sure that he has to keep thinking about investing into units. Who's coming out? I think I'm going to rescue my explorer up here. I finally remember that I never took this treasure, and so I'm going to grab my explorer, and then I'm going to eventually finish off this treasure. Hopefully get myself an extra shipment off of that. That was a small mistake, but not too big of a deal. So at this point of the game, normally I would never send Falx, with this sort of small army. But there's no other way I can really put pressure on him. Like, Skirms and Dragoons have very little siege. Like, they're not going to do anything to that town center. I can't exactly just stand under it and siege it when he could potentially pop like Mamelukes or Ronin on top of me, along with Minutemen and stuff like that. So, Valks in this matchup, or against Portugal in general, I guess, as any civ, like, cannons are a really good way to put the pressure on. Like, they have good siege, and they can siege from pretty far away. And, yeah, so basically the plan is just to sit outside of his base and sort of try to force him to come to me, if possible.
Bonjour.
Let's fast forward a little bit more. Yeah, so just start working away on his buildings up here. And I do spot this 1,000 gold shipment. Now, that could mean a few things. Could mean either he's getting the gold he needs to send something like Mamelukes. He could be training cannons. I think I do actually even see him with a Culve in here in a moment. Or it could just mean that he's aging. So with that in mind, I'm trying to keep the pressure up. I was thinking about maybe even like going in to scout a little bit more if he doesn't do anything in a moment. I don't end up having to do that. So yeah, I spot the Culve right here, just because his units are giving me vision with the way they're attacking me. And as soon as I see those, I decide to back off. I know my Falcons aren't going to be very useful against Culves, and there's no way I can kill the Culve in this choke without losing a lot of units. So just going to back off for now. I think my trading post also spots some dropping walls here in a moment. Just killing this treasure for XP. Doesn't really cost me anything. Finally grabbed this 320 XP treasure that I started like 10 minutes ago. Is good. And so I decided to switch to Cures here. Mainly because I saw that Culverin, and I saw a lot of Castors, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a lot of Dragoons, just because of that investment into the Culverins, and the 1,000 gold shipment. Basically, I'm anticipating either he's going to have a lot of Castors with a few Goons, maybe some Organ Guns, and maybe Mamelukes, but I'm not really expecting a lot of Goons, so I'm going to make a bunch of Cures. And hopefully that tech switch catches him off guard. I also decide to bring my army over to this side of the map. I end up scouting him dropping walls. I do see the walls up here. So the reason I decided to move to this side of the map is just because he does have resources over here, but it's really hard for me to pressure these resources, and they're going to run out soon anyway. So knowing that he has a third TC over here, it only kind of makes sense for him to sort of centralize his economy around this hunt and gold mine. And this is a much easier location for me to apply pressure to, just because none of those TCs or military buildings are around there. So yeah. When I see the walls, though, I know that something's up. That 1,000 gold, I'm starting to think might have been for an age up or something. So I'm being a little bit more... I started to be a little bit more aggressive with my army. I'm also trying to keep the cures sort of hidden in the back here. I don't want him to know about them just yet. I do sort of forget about the wall line of sight, I think, and I bring my cures a little bit too close to it eventually, but yeah, I want to keep them... I want to keep him unaware of their presence for as long as possible. Also, the stagecoach probably saw them if he was paying attention. So not the greatest control of those cures from me, but that's basically the idea, is I don't want him to know about this tech switch just yet. And so he isn't really contesting me, which kind of confirms my suspicions, and also the fact that he had a second layer of walls sort of confirms my suspicions that he's probably aging. And so that kind of signals go time for me. I'm going to walk in here and try to do as much damage as I can. Yeah, there's the age up. And so basically all I'm thinking is I need to kill that army off before he decides to send something like heavy cannons. That poor organ gun. It's so dead. I need to get in here before he sends something like heavy cannons. Or what does he even have in his deck, actually? I think she doesn't have any military shipments. I didn't actually check for this in the game. I definitely should have. But, either way, I don't want him to get away with this age up for free. Oh, this is a really cool moment. Right here, I see the Culverin walking in and unpacking, and I actually managed to dodge the Culve shot with my Falx. And the only thing I'm doing in this fight right now is watching this Culverin, and once again, I managed to dodge it again. That's a really cool micro trick you can do. But you can actually do it with pretty much any unit, as long as they have like roughly 4 speed or more. If you're paying attention to the cannons at the right moment, like the exact moment that they start to shoot, if you move your unit in the other direction, the cannon will miss. So I kind of knew that Culverin was going to be a big threat to my my cannons, so I just, instead of unpacking them like I originally intended, as soon as I saw that Culverin getting ready to shoot, I decided to just focus down the Culverin with my army and keep the Falconets alive by dodging the Culverin shots. And because of that, he was kind of forced to sacrifice all of those Dragoons to kill the cannons instead of just getting it for free with the Culverins. And that sort of leaves him open for these 5 cures that are coming in. So yeah, I see the factory dropping down here. And I know that he can't be... there's not going to be any units coming because of that factory. Sorry. And so I know that I'm kind of safe to stay in his base a while longer, keep these town centers idle. He actually doesn't have a lot of villagers garrisoned, but it's definitely not nothing. And as soon as I kill the army, first thing I do is I decide to send the cures to look for villagers. So I'm looking over in this area where I know he has a town center. There has to be villagers over here somewhere. And I just want to idle him for as much as I possibly can. And I also start dropping down our artillery foundry. So basically what I'm thinking right now is... how am I going to deal with his age up without losing my army and sort of giving up all this pressure I have on the map? Just sieging this just to keep the villagers garrisoned over here. Skirms mostly just left here for vision. Even just walking it through to see what he's doing. And then just sort of sieging this town center. I am still kind of concerned that he could be like popping units right now. I believe he still has Minutemen batches from both of these town centers if he really wants to. And I know that I don't really have any anti-cav or anything. I'm kind of concerned that like Asaris could be popping from the stable, so I start backing off a little bit, decide to wait for my petards to finish. And yeah, right as I do that, the Mamelukes pop, so... good awareness there, I suppose. That I could potentially get killed. Yeah, now the plan is just to wait for the petards. I know he doesn't have a lot of units, so I'm just going to wait for the petards and then push in, try to get this factory down. I'll be training more petards, try and crack these TCs and stuff like that, or maybe... I was thinking about Falx, but I don't really have a lot of gold left on the map. I think it's just this gold mine. And then that's pretty much it in this one, and whatever gold I can get from my trading post. So I'm building petards instead. Just because I want to preserve that gold mine for as long as possible. Yeah, he's trying to defend his factory, but sadly he doesn't really have any way to do so anymore. Factory goes down, and that's going to spell GG for him. So yeah, basically, What this game was all about for me was just keeping the pressure up. I always had units near his base or inside his base, like the Hussars early on. Even the skirmishers were just always next to this town center, always applying the pressure. And sort of because of that, I always kind of knew what he was up to, which is really important against a civ like Portugal, who could potentially go industrial and then sort of steamroll you with their stronger units, like heavy cannons and stuff like that. And so because of that, I was able to react appropriately to his age up and punish it. So yeah, not too much else to say about that game. So we'll move on to the second game in this series.